We have been trained by a century of science fiction and carefully managed leaks of information to look to the stars for the great other. We have been taught that if a technology appears in our skies that defies our known physics, it must, by definition, be extraterrestrial. This is the greatest and most successful act of misdirection in human history. The truth, this theory posits, is that the ultimate alien threat is not alien at all. It is human. It is a secret, parallel branch of our own species, a breakaway civilization that has been living in the shadows of our solar system for over 80 years, watching us, manipulating us, and laughing at the primitive, public space race we celebrate. This is not a new idea, but a secret, whispered history. This history does not begin in 1957 with Sputnik, or in 1969 with Apollo 11. It begins in the 1930s, in the dark, esoteric heart of the Third Reich. While the world was preparing for a war of tanks and planes, the most secret circles of Nazi Germany, obsessed with occultism and lost, ancient technologies, were pouring resources into Wunderwaffen, or wonder weapons. We know of the V-2 rocket, the weapon that became the foundation of both the American and Soviet space programs. But this was merely the public-facing, conventional miracle. The true research, hidden in secret facilities, was focused on something else: anti-gravity, the Cavril force, and a project known to insiders as Die Glock, or the Bell. This device was allegedly a torsion field engine, a machine that created a bubble in spacetime, allowing it to move in ways that defied Newtonian physics. The official history tells us this research failed, that the war was won, and that the German scientists were captured and integrated via Operation Paperclip. This is the lie. The truth is that Operation Paperclip was a Trojan horse. The captured scientists we saw, like Wernher von Braun, were the B-team, given to the Allies to build a slow, loud, and primitive public space program based on brute force rocketry. This was a grand pantomime, a puppet show to keep the world's superpowers distracted with a space race, while the true, a team of Nazi elites, along with their most advanced, operational anti-gravity technology, had already escaped. In the final, chaotic days of the war, they executed the Great Exodus, a mass-scale migration not to South America, but to their pre-prepared, secret Antarctic base, Neuschwabenland. From this untouchable, frozen fortress, this Fourth Reich, they would bide their time, perfect their technology, and make their first real move, not to Earth's orbit, but to the moon. From their Antarctic sanctuary, the Breakaway Civilization, now a self-contained, ideologically pure, and technologically superior society, began its silent conquest of the solar system. Their first objective was the moon, which they reached in the early 1950s using their perfected, second-generation Glock craft. They established their first permanent, off-world base, Base Loki, in a massive, hidden lava tube on the lunar far side, forever hidden from Earth's telescopes. This would become their true capital, their Valhalla. While the surface, slave nations of Earth were just beginning to dream of space, the breakaway civilization was already a two-world species. From the moon, Mars was the next logical step. By the 1960s, while the public Apollo program was spending billions to send men in tin cans for a few days, the breakaway civilization's Dark Fleet, or Dunkelflotte, was already establishing permanent, pressurized cities beneath the surface of Mars. But how? How could such a monumental undertaking be hidden? This is where the story takes its darkest turn. The breakaway leaders knew they needed a technological leap so profound it would guarantee their dominance forever. That leap, according to this theory, was provided by the 1947 Roswell crash. The craft that crashed in the New Mexico desert was indeed alien, perhaps the only truly alien craft we have ever encountered. But it was not the U.S. military that retrieved the primary wreckage and the living occupant. It was them. Their saucer craft, faster, quieter, and untraceable, were already operating in our skies. They shadowed the alien craft, saw it crash, and were on the scene, securing the technology and the bodies, long before the primitive U.S. Army Air Forces arrived. The U.S. government was left with nothing but scraps, a debris field that they would then use to reverse engineer primitive technologies like transistors and fiber optics. The Breakaway Civilization, however, got the grand prize, the working core of the alien drive. By reverse engineering this, they unlocked the final secrets: zero-point energy, interdimensional travel, and the physics of the vacuum itself. This was the birth of the Dark Fleet as we now know it. This entire solar empire, built on stolen technology and funded by a global, shadow economy of infiltrated banks, corporations, and black markets, has been operating in our backyard for over half a century. They are the true masters of our solar system. With a secret, multiplanetary empire to protect, the Breakaway Civilization faced a single, overriding challenge: how to hide their activities from the surface population they had left behind. How do you hide fleets of advanced, triangular, and saucer-shaped craft moving between the Earth, the Moon, and Mars? The answer was a masterstroke of psychological warfare, an operation of such scale and brilliance that it has defined our entire culture for 70 years. They invented the extraterrestrial narrative. They began a deliberate, systematic campaign to convince the world that any advanced technology seen in the skies must be from another star system. The flying saucer flap of the 1950s. Those were their craft, the Vavril and Honeybue shits, flying over Washington, D.C. and other strategic locations in a blatant show of force, an intimidation campaign directed at the surface world's secret keepers. The men in black who terrorized witnesses into silence. They were not alien hybrids. They were their human agents, intelligence operatives from the Dark Fleet, ensuring that no one ever connected the flying saucers to a terrestrial, German-speaking origin. The most horrific part of this great dissection was the alien abduction phenomenon. This was not a scientific study by gray aliens. This was a state-sponsored, clinical, and brutal psychological terror program. Dark Fleet operatives, using their silent craft, would abduct surface citizens, take them to their bases, perform medical procedures, and then, using advanced psychotronic technology, wipe their memories and implant a screen memory of bug-eyed aliens. They created the alien mythos from whole cloth, weaponizing our own imagination against us. They built a firewall of belief in our collective consciousness, a cultural Truman Show where any glitch in the sky, any glimpse of their technology, would be instantly misinterpreted by the public as aliens. This misdirection was their greatest shield. It allowed them to operate in plain sight, to build their empire, and to watch us, the prison population, argue endlessly about life on Zeta Reticuli, while the true others were human, living just next door on the moon. This decades-long deception brings us to the present day, and to 3I/Atlas. The Breakaway Civilization, now perhaps 2 or 3 generations removed from their Earth-based ancestors, has watched us with a cold, calculating detachment. They have watched us pollute our world, fight our petty wars, and, most dangerously, begin to stumble upon the very physics they have mastered. Our public science, with the Large Hadron Collider and our research into quantum mechanics and AI, is getting too close to their secret science. The prison population is beginning to understand the nature of the prison's bars. It was time for a new, grand, and final demonstration of power. 3I/Atlas, this theory posits, is the ultimate false flag operation. It was not an interstellar comet, It was their weapon, a planet killer class vessel, launched from within our own solar system, perhaps from their deep space bases in the Oort cloud, on a trajectory so complex it mimicked an interstellar origin. It was a demonstration of force, a shot across the bow, for the surface world's leaders, the ones who know the truth about the breakaway civilization. Every anomaly we have desperately tried to explain with exotic physics is, in fact, a feature of their superior human technology. The impossible composition and forbidden elements. Those are their manufactured, weaponized materials, the stable, super-heavy elements that make up the core of their torsion field drive. The alien isotopes. Those are the unique, unmistakable byproducts of their zero-point energy reactors. The 4D, or glitch, effects. That is the visual wake of their interdimensional propulsion system. It is not a 4D object, it is a 3D craft skipping through dimensions to move, and our instruments were capturing the glitch as it re-entered our 3D space. The fragmentation. This was not a breakup. This was the deliberate and terrifyingly precise deployment of its payload. The fragments are a swarm of hypersonic, independently targeted warheads, sensors, or perhaps even a nanite-based psychotronic virus designed to be inhaled by the surface population. 3I/Atlas was not a comet. It was a carrier vessel, and it just delivered its payload into our atmosphere. The arrival of 3I/Atlas was not an attack. Not yet. It was an ultimatum. It was the breakaway civilization, the dark fleet, finally, and openly, putting their metaphorical boot on the neck of the surface world. This is the true source of the Atlas panic. The secret meetings in bunkers, the G7 summits, the silent panic among the global elite, it was not about first contact with aliens from another star. It was the terrified, scrambling reaction of the prison wardens, our world leaders, to the owners of the prison finally showing up at the front gate. The breakaway civilization, with their perfect, untouchable technology, their bases on the Moon and Mars, and their control of the global shadow economy, have decided that the experiment of a divided, self-ruling surface Earth is over. They see us as a chaotic, diseased, and inferior branch of humanity that is destroying their ancestral home and is now, with our public-facing science, threatening their technological monopoly. Their endgame is reunification. They are coming home, not as brothers or saviors, but as masters, as conquerors. 3I/Atlas was the demonstration, the shot so loud that no one in power could ignore it. The message was simple: we have the power to destroy you in an instant. Your nuclear weapons are firecrackers. Your jets are children's toys.